So yeah, like I was saying, it's a shame that like a lot of people that generally as people sometimes we only work, you know, we work well together sometimes when we're forced to work well together. But why should we have to always, you know, why should it have to always be forced? Why can't people just be more open and be more just like, you know, you know, just you've got to always remember that everyone's human beings. We're all human beings having a very similar experience, you know, with different experiences at the same time. Um, so it's, you know, like, we all, you know, why can't we just help each other and learn to work together and just, you know, we can, you know, everything that all the crops that we grow and all the food that we produce, and why can it just not be shared, you know, shared and, you know, distributed amongst all the people in different countries evenly, and so everyone's, you know, looked after, and everyone, you know, there's so much that we can do to, you know, to make life better in so many different places in the world. And it's almost like people just ignore this shit. It's like people okay, I'm not saying it's their responsibility, yeah, because it's not, but imagine having billions of pounds, mate, you know what I mean, money that you can never ever spend again in your life, but you're not using any of that money to, like, you know, to do any good with it, if you see what I mean, any, like, benefit, if you see what I mean, to make someone else's existence better, to enhance someone else's life, to, you know, like, you know, there's so many places out there that, you know, if you donated £1 million to certain places in the world today, that amount of money, mate, would do so much in that country. You'd be able to build like an entire like city in certain places with that money, if you see what I mean, like, you know. So if you get what I'm saying, like, it's incredible, you know, you'd be able to build, you know, you'd be able to build housing and wells.
Money gives you power, doesn't it?
All sorts of shit for these people, if you see what I mean.
Money gives you the power to put towers into existence.
Exactly.
Skyscrapers.
But it just depends on what these people choose. I'm not saying it's their responsibility, because it's not. You can't say it's someone else's responsibility to do shit for people because they have money, because it's not. But if I was in that position where I had huge amounts of money, I would definitely do things, you know, whenever I felt inclined to do something to help people in whatever case I would, because, you know, it's, you know, if you've got that kind of money that you can never spend it, you know, you can't spend it within your lifetime, it's like, it's, you know, it's just, why not help other people, you know, and try to help, you know, help to better society, better, you know, our existence, and to help things evolve even more in the future going forward, you know. There's certain places and certain, you know, in certain places, certain parts of the world today that would really thrive, you know what I mean, if they had just, you know, if they just had a cash injection, you know, if you know, someone came along and just said, listen, you know, we want to build schools here, we want to build up a community for, you know, you and your people, you know, give you a better way of life, you know, be able to, you know, have housing and you know, running water and electricity and you know, because unfortunately there are some, like we talk about all the time, there are some places still today in this world where people do live without the basic necessities that we all have today. You know, see what I mean?
I think like we're all living on a, like say, a big giant chessboard, you know what I mean? And each sort of like, you know, it's like me, I belong to someone in a kind of way, you know. And I did belong to the Queen until she died, you know what I mean? Now I belong to the other kid, like the King, apparently, you know. Apparently someone tried to kill her on Christmas Day. Did you know that?
Kill who?
Queen.
Okay.
Just before she died.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, someone tried to kill her, yeah?
Yeah, they jumped over the wall, Windsor Castle,
okay,
with a bow and arrow.
Oh, wow.
You know, I don't know if they were dressed up in Robin Hood or not. He was a nipper, a young nipper of 21 or something. And on Christmas Day when they're...
Because
normally the Queen...
That bit you said you don't know if he's dressed up like Robin Hood, mate. That got me, yeah.
Well, Windsor Castle...
Only because you said he got a bow and arrow as well.
He
so,
did.
Yeah.
He had a bow and arrow. And the police caught him there. And he said, I come to kill the Queen.
Oh, wow. So, you know, he's going to prison forever.
Well, no, he got 6 years for it.
4
years.
He's gonna get. They're gonna put him in. Excuse me. They're gonna put him in the mental asylum, mate. And you're gonna get that number 4 injection. You know, they're gonna put him in the mental asylum, mate. Those kind of people, mate. They don't take that kind of shit, mate. You can't be out here saying you can't be out here doing that shit, talking about you want to do that type of shit, mate. They're gonna, you know.
Yeah, but you know what they did, didn't you, the royal family?
Yeah.
After the war,
Mhm.
they changed their names,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and they actually changed the place where they were.
Yeah.
Windsor Castle.
Windsor Castle, yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like a big cover up in a kind of way. You know, they didn't want to tell people that they were actually German.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they also wanted to hide away from the enemies.
Yeah.
That hated.
Well, as we know, our aristocracy today, you know, I mean, still today, is still comes from German, like you said, has German background, German lineage. If you see what I mean, the Anglo-Gotha, what's it?
Yeah. Well, there's you know, apparently just lots and lots of Germans living everywhere. You know, and some people have been taught English. You know, we've all been taught different languages for a reason. You know what I mean? By the hierarchy.
Yeah.
You know, over the centuries, honestly. You know, now they're in this decade. They thought the children could learn French now. You know, things like that, and German, you know, different language, you know, that's just opened up, you know what I mean? A few hundred years ago, there was no education for children to learn to read. They were happy playing, you know, they didn't want to read, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, like say, reading sort of like, kind of, you know, it's nice to have a language, you know, but you think like this language, what we're talking right now, is practically one of the newest languages in the world. You know?
Yeah.
It's new.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, through wars, languages have completely taken out of existence, you know, from other languages, you know. You know, there is a war of languages in this world as well. And, you know, like, the Chinese fear everyone else. Yeah. You know, not many people know Chinese. Yeah. Do they? You know?
Well, I think today Mandarin is like the number 2 language in the world that people learn today. Actually, I think English is the number 1 still. I think Mandarin is the second most popular language. I think.
But it's the hardest language to learn.
Yeah, but I think that's through business as well. A lot of that's through business and communication, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of, you know, China and stuff.
But it's you know, an old language.
Yeah.
Very old.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine that? You know, ours is new. Okay. And once, at one point in our history here, because of a king nearly lost the war, this language wouldn't have existed today.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
If he would have, if you know, talking about existence, if he was taken out of existence, there's a chance that this language wouldn't have evolved anymore. That's the truth. You know, they evolved here. You know. And a lot of people worked on it, in a big room, you know, and put it in books, dictionaries, you know, and started writing dictionaries for people to learn it as a new language. I think Latin was from Germany, you know. They changed Latin into Germany, you know. They change the languages sometimes to sort of like change the density, like moving house in a kind of way, you know. You sort of change his name sometimes. Kings change their name, honestly, sometimes, and move off. And leave their people completely to, you know, on their own. Sometimes they actually take off, you know, in a boat and get away, you know. They've had enough. Move to a different country. You know. And you know, I'd say it's a very weird world. You know, when I look at history, I can see lots of princesses, lots of fairies, you know, and all this kind of, you know, it's like a fairy tale land, you know, going back in history. A lot of magic, you know. People used to sort of think, like, when peasants used to come up and knock up for things, like old ladies, whatever, asking for milk and things, they used to think they were witches. And then, you know, they'd burn them for it, you know. You know, that's the kind of things that were kind of going on, you know, in those days, you know. But witches don't exist today.
Witches do exist, mate.
Yeah, maybe.
For sure, and warlocks, mate. If you knew how much ritualistic shit people do every day, it would amaze you. You know. There's people out there that are all sort of doing all kind of rituals. And shit. Even right now, there's people right now out there doing rituals.
Yeah, but do you ever really see anyone do any magic? Really? Seriously, come on.
Yeah, but I think sometimes that does affect some people. it does affect some people, you know. It honestly it does affect some people, mate. There's some people out there that would do sacrifices and shit, you know what I mean, to try and make shit happen to other people, you know what I mean? Because they understand that blood is a spiritual currency for the spiritual realm, if you see what I mean. You know, that's what.
You've looked deep into it by the sound of it.
Yeah, because I've studied all that shit.
You've gone into the dark side of life.
No, I've never practiced any of that stuff, but I've studied it, of course. You know what I mean? I've studied all that type of shit years ago. You know, when I was deep into my studies of all sorts of different things. But that's why something like even in the ancient times, why do you think they had their gods? Why do you think they used to do sacrifices to their gods? Why do you think that was? Because they believed that by spilling the blood, it would, a spiritual currency, that the god would have favor upon them and would bless them essentially, and all this type of shit.
But these gods,
so that's why you still got people today that do all this. Still got people today that sacrifice animals and sometimes even people and shit. You got some weird people. You got some weird shit going on, in the world.
But in history, there's been a lot of people that called themselves gods.
Yeah.
They are kind of gods to us.
Yeah.
Like Zeus, who's meant to be a god. And he did exist. It's not a fairy tale, right? That guy did exist, He was when the Olympic Games come in Greece, he was the guy in the big king chair there, watching it all.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining him, whatever. He did exist, it's not and he had two brothers.
Yeah.
One living on the underworld and all this. These are true stories. They're not lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're facts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that have gone on in this world.
Of course, yeah.
Only because people existed, haven't they? And like some people lived there, make a statue of themselves, don't they? Especially the Romans and all that, didn't they? It's sort of like it started getting I think like in Greece they started doing it. Yeah. But you look at Greece, okay, and you look at the the statues, really beautiful, incredible. Do you know what I mean? I can't believe it. They look like almost like real life.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible art. You know what I mean? It's phenomenal. A lot of time's gone into it, whatever.
Dedication.
But then you look at all the Roman ones, and they're sort of really not so good. They're sort of done quickly out. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just not such. I don't look at the art with such beauty. Do you know what I mean? But, it's done with marble in Greece. All this sort of stuff. And I think the Romans tried to copy it. And then they smashed it down. I think because they were jealous of it all. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just, But the art, I think, in Greece is quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Like angel wings and all this, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you think like these people did that, I think, really, to mark their name for life. Even like you go to London, you walk around and you can see, there's lots of famous people basically that have been in history.
Yeah.
They've got a name for themselves, basically, got an OBE. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get a statue made of metal outside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes the public put them down, because they're not, it's like in Canada, I think they pulled a statue down of Queen Victoria recently. I don't know whether it's true, but, they don't look at her as a nice queen anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're putting all the statues down. And like all these statues sort of like, they made one, and they made two, they made three, and then they started printing them out everywhere, and there's like loads of gods everywhere all of a sudden,
Yeah.
And when we're all sort of walking around the world now, we can kind of see this sometimes, Some's been, some history's been destroyed, out of existence completely.
Yeah.
Some libraries, like when they did the Romans completely destroyed, because they were taught to by the kings, wanted to destroy every evidence.
Yeah.
destroy all their books, destroy all their history, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so only a bit of it's left. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah.
And now, you know, that's why I think we're kind of lost in history, really, because we don't know half of it.
Yeah.
A
A lot of people's existence,
well,
a lot of civilizations' existence were completely wiped out and eradicated by some other army that came along and destroyed them and took over all their land and, you know, destroyed that people's history. And
well, they also, because they
created their own.
You think when they murdered lots of people, and they just sit there afterwards, the next day they wake up, and the survivors are there, whatever, and the lords come along, and they rewrite history. And they don't want to tell everyone they murdered anyone. You know, they think, oh, they died of an earthquake. We got there and everything was in pieces, an earthquake. You know, and they start writing a new book completely. You know. And you know, it's not, you know,
creating their own.
Well, and you know, and that's why we're reading history today, and it's not kind of like true in the right way, you know, because they're hiding a lot of murders and you know, creating their own book basically.
Their own version of events, Yeah.
So I mean, like, another thing to talk about, you know, I'm existing today as a male. I don't know what it's like to exist as a female, you know.
Of course,
Isn't it, you know, I think we share the same senses, you know, our eyes, ears, but we've got to look at life differently, I think. You know, like a woman needs to protect herself from, you know, from more in life, I think. Where I think a man needs to protect a woman. You know? That's how, I mean, I was watching these pigeons, a male and a female, and it's quite funny to watch that. The male bubbles up there like a balloon. When he's caught in the female, you know, they sort of dance in there, you know, and then he sort of like hurdles into her, like sort of like runs into her like a rhino kind of thing, you know, and basically what, you know, like pigeons, you know, I sort of like study birds a little bit, and they kind of like behave in, the males protect the female, and they stay with that female for life. There's no wedding rings here, do you know what I mean? There's just like a complete loyalty to that bird, and that male is always keeping his eye out, making sure that no other females get close to that, his girlfriend, basically, you know, his gardener, do you know what I mean? And she's quite happy, you know, because she loves him for protecting her from all those other pigeons that want to sort of like, you know, do the thing, you know. And that's the way nature really kind of works, you know. But us, we got to get married, you know what I mean? Or we being sort of like illusion that we should get married. Buy a ring, you know, that's quite expensive. You know, very expensive. You know, somebody's making a lot of money here, do you know what I mean? It's a big money game, you know. And it's like my mum, she got married when she was 16, you know. It's an awful age, you know. But, you know, that is, you know, me, if I was a vicar in a church, which I'd never be, but if I was marrying a 16-year-old, I'd feel guilty.
Definitely.
And that's that. Do you know what I mean? Well, you know, what's going on, you know, nobody should be getting married at that age.
Not 16 years
Nobody.
old. No
you
one.
know, and that's what I get confused about. You know, and I can understand why, you know, my personal family's gone like it did, you know what I mean? They just sort of like got deluded that you get married, do the thing that everybody else does, you know, spend a lot of married, be loyal and all that. But this world's not like that, do you know what I mean? You know, that's why I think it's completely going wrong. You know, it's completely unnatural the way we're living, do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I think the world is, I think the world's getting better if you don't watch the news, you know, I think. People love talking. And people kind of like, when they hear something, they kind of believe it straight away. Almost, you know.
A lot of people, unfortunately, you know.
You know, me personally, I think I've got to see it to believe it. Your eyes don't tell lies, do they? You know.
Well, Yeah.
Well, it's like some, you know, like for instance, there was a bombing going off in Libya or something, whatever, and they showed it on the news, yeah. But like you see, like windows going through, and there's, you know, there's a child there, whatever, you know, I saw or whatever. But you think they can make movies these days, right? Yeah. Or people go through windows and all kinds of shit. They can do these kind of movies, these kind of tricks, movie tricks.
Yeah.
You know, and you think they can do this with the news too? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, make up stories, really. You know, and sort of confuse the public.
Well, they can essentially feed the world what they want to feed the world, can't they?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like females got a different existence to males, haven't they? You know,
in a way, yeah.
You know, they've got to protect their body in a big way.
Yeah.
I think. Where men don't have to protect their body in that way. You know, they got to look after their body, men.
Yeah.
But they got to protect themselves, sort of, from getting pregnant, basically, haven't they?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty glad that I've come to this world.
Exactly.
You know.
Give thanks. Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't born, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
You know. You know, I think like if I wasn't born, no one would have been born in the kind of way, you know. If you see what I mean, or no one would have existed, or not even the government would have existed to me. If you see what I mean. If I wasn't born, the universe wouldn't exist. It only exists because I exist. In a kind of way. But that's not true in a way, you know, because I know that even if I didn't exist, alright, that this universe does exist.
Yeah, it's still, even if we didn't exist, mate, even if like our parents didn't meet per se, you know, there's still thousands of people, you know, people have been around for a long, long time, you know.
Well, we know the Earth was here 1,000 years ago. Even
if we didn't exist, let's say per se, there'll still be people here existing, living life and experiencing, you know.
That's right.
You know, we like, to me, like everyone's like a grain of sand in the grand, you know, like a grain of sand. Every human is like a grain of sand. But
moving with legs.
If you see what I mean, in the grand scheme of thing, you know, in terms of like, you know, human existence and time, like, you know, yeah, you know. So
I think we've got different existences in a kind of way.
We all have, depending on where you live, depending on your circumstances, depending on your environment, depending on the country you know, how the country you're born in, how you're raised, like the society in which you live in.
What school you went to, what teachers you got, what friends you've got.
All those things are what end up making up a person eventually as they get older, you know, grow older and get older and kind of get molded into the human being that they end up becoming, you know what I mean? Like, you know, by the time they're considered an adult, you know. So.
And you think like how successful or is one in a million that you actually got here.
Yeah.
Well, then you get here and you grow up, and then you meet somebody else that, like me. That was 1 million to get here. You know, so what miracle is that?
Yeah.
You know, two people meeting in the world, I think it's a miracle.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think as people get older too, people start to realise that they were sold a lie. They've been sold a lie, you know. Life is not what they thought it was when they were young, you know. As they get older, they realise it's not what it was, you know, what they were kind of promised when they were younger, you know. Go to school, get a good job, you're going to have a good life, and yada yada, you know, everything be, you know.
Well, I think everybody's been stalling their own. Even I know myself, I'm owned. I wasn't aware of it when I was a child, but now I know that I'm owned by another outside force in a kind of way. You know, I belong to another outside force. I feel. You know, like for instance, I've got a birth certificate on me.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It kind of feels like a bit of string.
Yeah.
On me, or a bit of wire. You know, and it's got my name on it. You know?
Of course, yeah.
Then as soon as I die, I get a doctor, and then they they kind of like put it to your birth certificate, you know, they know every detail about what you're doing.
Yeah, from beginning to
life.
end, you know, like because they got your birth certificate, they got all your medical history from the time you were born right up until you died, and then like you said, the death certificate goes in with that too.
Yeah.
So
I feel that is a bit of a nobody likes being owned.
No.
Do they?
No.
And I feel that a lot of people in the world today are owned.
And the sad reality is too is that a lot of these corporations and stuff, sometimes they make a lot of money off people as well too. You know, sometimes all these things get put into private stocks and bonds, and they float them on the stock markets, and they make huge amounts of money off of it. You know, off of people's data, people's information, people's, you know, etc. You know, information today, data and information today is one of the most expensive things people a lot of these corporations, you know, buy. You know, you've got large amounts, you've got huge conglomerate companies and stuff that buy data in order to be able to market their products towards consumers today, if you see what I mean. You know, they buy up data, third-party data that is not illegal to buy. You know that some companies are eligible to sell off because you know you've agreed to their cookies, you've agreed to use their cookies when you're visiting their website or their page, and once you've agreed to that, then you've agreed to, you know what I mean. So yeah, you know, they end up, you know, sometimes some things do end up collecting your data, and yeah, some people do buy that data, you know, in order to market their products to you, you know. So yeah.
So I think lots and lots of people are owned.
Yeah.
And I don't really like that.
And the thing is that even today, like, a lot of people can't say what they really true and what they truly really believe or what they really truly feel and stuff today, mate, in fear of they might lose their job, they might lose, you know what I mean, they might lose their friends, they might lose their family, they might start to get alienated, because sometimes when you start telling people the truth about certain things and start like really, you know, getting deep into some real, you know, deep shit and really like exposing a lot of stuff to people and having certain conversations with people, sometimes like you can end up alienating yourself, because sometimes people can't accept it, if you see what I mean, can't deal with it, if you see what I mean, and they end up kind of like rejecting you and kind of like, you know, might say you're a little bit crazy, or, you know, but, you know, yeah. So it's not easy, you know, it's not easy, you know, it takes a lot of strength and courage to be someone in this world that really kind of like speaks their truth, you know, and especially in this day and age where people are so quick to cancel people, like, you know, stop people from making money off of their social media and stuff because they didn't agree with something they said or something, like, you know, or whatever, like, you know, or YouTube channel, you know, plenty of people got their channels deleted because, you know, they didn't agree with something someone said or whatever, like, you know, so yeah, you know.
You know, I don't think you can win.
People are very controlled today, like, you know, it's like even sometimes people at work say stuff to me, like, sometimes, I remember even like during the whole time of the whole pandemic things and everything that was going on, and then people had to get that medication, you know, the medication that they were giving out, you know what I'm talking about, the medication, because we were on YouTube, so we're going to call it the medication. But when people, you know, there was a lot of people that didn't want the medication, you know, but had to accept the medication, take the medication.
Well, I was one of them. I didn't have it.
Well, I didn't have it either.
I didn't have any.
So I didn't take the medication, you know, because I wasn't in favour of the medication, and
I'm not.
you know.
I don't want anything going into my body. This is my existence, yeah.
That's it.
And I've got every right over my own existence.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No one.
Can enforce anything.
No one's got the right to touch me or anything.
No.
Or, I mean, I don't like. I mean, I'm not against them, but I've never wanted a tattoo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't want anything going in my body.
Yeah.
Anything like, yeah, I was completely against that. Do you know what I mean? And I find it quite horrifying. They want to do it to children, and they've got no say in the matter. You know?
Well, that's not true, because you as
talking about young children.
No, I know, but as parents, you have to, you know, you've got to stand firm and stay strong in your beliefs and say, listen, I'm not allowing, you know what I mean, people to do this shit to my children. You know? So, yeah, I mean, I'm a great father, I'm a great husband, you know, I you know, I look after my family, like, you know, make sure my family is straight and make sure my kids are, you know, like, you know, my kids are exceptionally well looked after, you know, but I just don't accept, like you said, you know, I don't accept, you know, certain things, and I'm willing to stand on that, you know, and if these people, you know, somehow want to, you know, question it or whatever, I say, you know, you know, I do what I have to do in order to, you know, explain my point of view and my, you know, my stance, you know, so.
I think like this with existence again. Some people are living very angry life. This angry, do you know what I mean? All the time, every day.
Yeah, miserable.
They're angry.
Miserable existence.
You know, and they can't get over it or forgive or whatever. You know, or, you know. Some people are happy.
Yeah.
I am. You know, I'm quite happy. I'm comfortable. I sleep well, whatever.
Yeah.
Some people are poor. You know, and they're struggling. You know, they can't have a bath each day like some people. You know.
Yeah, true.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? But I say I think there's like a number of different existence out there. You know.
Yes.
I mean, like even being in prison, you can be existing in prison. You know, for a long, long time because you might have done something or you might not have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But just imagine if you were in prison, being convicted for something that you actually know that you didn't do because you're witness to your own self.
Of course, yeah.
Aren't you? You know whether
you know what you've done or not.
But you've been blamed for it. Like they have done in the past. They blamed people and just put them in prison because they didn't like them.
Yeah.
You know, and blamed them and said they did this and that. You know,
Yeah,
when they did it really.
False accusations and shit. Yeah.
You know, all kinds of cases. You know, like the police killed somebody and blamed somebody else.
Yeah.
And put them in prison for it. You know, and they're guilty as anything. You know, they would never kill us all. You know, and they're in prison. You know, so they're spending in their number of years in prison sometimes, you know, or on death row, and they've not done anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you can imagine how you feel in existence, being on death row, for instance, yeah, knowing that you're going to die, and how you're going to die.
Especially knowing especially like you said, knowing that you're innocent. You know, knowing within yourself that you're innocent. You know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Thankfully, that doesn't really exist in too many places still today. There are only a few places in the world that still exists. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think
people are executed for certain crimes. You know.
Well, I think like you know, you look back in time, they used to hang people. That stopped.
Yeah.
They used to cut people's hands off. Yeah. That's the truth. In many other places, yeah. If you stole, you know, cut your hand off. That stopped.
Yeah.
It existed in this country, yeah, obviously, for a number of years.
Yeah.
It stopped, you know. And the last person, you know, it's getting better. You know, it's like the public are pushing, you know, and it's getting better in a kind of way.
Yeah.
Where more.
We have created a much better environment today. You know, we are getting to a point where we are starting to almost create an almost close to an ideal environment in today's society. You know, where we are having, you know, people are living quite a decent life. You know, even though life can be very hard for a lot of people are still maintaining, if you see what I mean, still keeping their head above water and still, you know, going, you know, still got their necessities like we talked about earlier, still got a house, still got somewhere to go to, you know, still got somewhere to live, somewhere to sleep at night, somewhere to take a shower, somewhere to have some, you know, cook their dinner and have something to eat, somewhere they can relax and watch television or go on the computer or do what they want to do or go on the internet or, you know, just like, you know, people sometimes, especially in our Western world, we complain sometimes about having just a basic life. Sometimes some people do, you know, not just having, you know, having 9 to 5 and just living life. But I tell you what, there's so many people out there that would want your life, you know, would want to have that life of just, you know, for them that would just be a very happy, simple life, you know, and you still got everything you need, you know, you can still afford everything, you know, you're still getting by, you know, so, you know, can't really complain if that is your situation, you know, because there's some people out there that don't even have marginally close to that, you know, so.
Well, I mean, this country, for instance, you know, some people, as I've said previously, episodes, whatever, some people own their home. completely, you know.
Outright, yeah.
And they might own other homes and rent them out and things, and they just get rich from it, you know. They're just putting their feet up in their little, you know, they're not a king or anything, you know, just landlords.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of these people around just sitting down doing nothing. They don't have to do nothing. They've got everyone else working for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the reality of the world. You know, the existing world we live in.
Yeah.
Some people can put their feet up in the farmhouse, whatever, and some people have got to live outside the farm, basically in the barn.
Yeah.
And get the leftovers in kind of way, you know. And we got to feed the king with the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the great stuff.
Yeah.
And the good food and the healthy food. You know, but we should be all looking after each other. Yeah, we're all living in the same, you know, reality. We're all human beings. We've all got our arms and legs, you know, and we should be looking after each other.
That's
all
it.
of us, you know. But money's divided us.
Yeah, well, not only that, they've used all sorts of shit to divide us, mate.
Yeah, money's kind of like...
They use race, they use
It's
religion.
like a weapon in a kind of way,
They
you know.
use race, they use religion, they use money, they use social class, they use all sorts of shit, everything, loads of shit, you know, to divide people, conquer people, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult world to exist in today, you know.
Keep people at odds with each other over small, petty, basic shit that they've devised to, you know, keep themselves in power, keep them, you know, keep their power forevermore, you know, keep getting stronger, and their empire just continues to grow while the average working everyday citizen, you know, people today are struggling, you know, and just trying to get by day by day, you know.
It'd be good though, like if you had like 2 planet Earths and a rocket. We built like a space shuttle, you know, to take us to, and this other planet Earth was moon distance, you know, not too far away. But this was a really beautiful world, you know, with no corruption whatsoever. You know, no motor engines or anything. It's just peaceful, very quiet, and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
You know. No money, and this was all sort of industrial, you know. There were people who were sort of gambling and all sorts, you know, trying to get money and trying to get richer, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be. I'm just sort of saying, it'd be nice if we had that choice, wouldn't we?
Yeah, true.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's different existences, isn't there? That's all I can say. I'm enjoying my existence.
Yeah, me too.
Especially. Now I'm getting a bit older, I think, as well, you know.
Yeah.
And my divorce is over, and my existence is sort of improving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
A happier life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, mate, before we wrap it up and call it a night for this week's episode, you know, all about
existence.
Existence, you know, what a wonderful existence it really is, you know, and it all boils down to everything, you know. We try to look at things from a positive perspective and try to be as optimistic as possible. So, you know, you have to try to look at things from a positive light and a positive perspective, and try to maintain faith and hope in the fact that existence will only get better, and we will continue to evolve for better, and for the you know, the betterment and the greater good of society and of mankind, you know, hopefully, you know.
Exist in happiness.
Exist in happiness.
That's what I say.
Enjoy your existence, you know, and yeah, give thanks, you know, just know that, you know,
appreciate being human.
That's it. You
I
know?
wouldn't want to be a pig.
Yeah.
Or a cow.
Yeah, likewise, you know.
Just imagine that being existing as
and just remember, everyone's having their own experience, you know, so don't be too critical of other people and too judgmental of other people. Everyone's just here having their own different experience, and you don't know what that person is dealing with, you don't know what experiences they've had in their life, you don't know what trauma they're dealing with, what they're going through at the time, whatever. So try not to be too judgmental and critical of other people, you know, and just focus on your own self-improvement and your family, and looking after your loved ones, and you know, staying true to what's really important to you, you know, in your existence, you know. You know, and creating the existence in which you want to live in, you know, the reality in which you want to exist in, you know, because, you know, it's you know, that's dependent upon you, you know.
It's all up to you.
That's it.
Happy existence.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we are the Philosophy Podcast, as you already know. Thank you for tuning in to another episode, of course, this week. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's episode, all about existence. And we'll be back again next week. Good night. God bless. Give thanks for your existence. Enjoy your life to the fullest. And bless her.